Axons Unleashed.
G'day ladies and gents, Robbie Turner's my name. Welcome to another cracking episode of Axons Unleashed. I've got my main man Damo here with me. How are you, mate?
I'm going all right, mate.
I loved your podcast that you did with us about 2 years ago when you got fucking kidnapped in Melbourne. Go back and watch that one, but by the way.
Sydney. But,
I always get something wrong. Mate, how's the new studio evolving?
mate, it looks awesome. I was just talking to Daniel about it before. I'm like, this is starting to take shape. It's really nice.
For sure.
And I'll have to dig out some stuff from my garage and come in and add some
Mate,
collection.
please do. And it just sort of brings me straight into our guest because when Daniel, you came to me like, oh, have you seen those things where it's like a little skull and like someone puts a beret on top of it? I'm like, yeah, I think I've seen him around somewhere. He goes, I know the fucking dude. He's going to like come here and he's going to actually do it. So yeah, Taggart Blackwood, welcome to Axons Unleashed, my man.
Hey, boys, thanks for having us.
No worries.
Fantastic. Full disclosure up front, bar from 4 minutes ago, I knew fucking zero about this dude except for he does these amazing skulls. So, yeah, and I love that. Obviously, a veteran, and we just got to share a little bit more about your story, which I really, really connect with. So, yeah, looking forward to taking you on a bit of a journey, man. And, you know, from where you started to what you're doing now, I think, you know, lots of parts of your story are going to resonate with the whole veteran community.
Yeah, mate, looking forward to going through it and doing a bit of a memory lane tour.
Yeah, for sure. And we just discovered we've probably got about 400 mutual friends. But anyway, we'll get to that. Yeah, tell us, when did that sort of first fire get lit in your belly? You're like, right, I'm going to join the Defence Force, mum and dad, and I'm going to go and serve my country.
Yeah, it's probably like early on, right? So got like a long family history of military. Like dad, Vietnam veteran, Navy, uncle, you know, Vietnam veteran, 2 tours. Granddad was occupation of Japan, World War II, right? Grandmother was, you know, a captain, you know, a nursing captain. They both met over there.
Wow, that's
got
cool.
married over there, and then granddad, great granddad was World War One. You know, got gassed in the trenches, hair turned white, went crazy. You know, so just sort of growing up on their stories alone, you know, was sort of part of it. So always from an early on, you know, just it was always there. We sort of, you know, talked about it in some form or another.
And where in Australia did you grow up?
So I was born in Billawilla, small town.
Yeah.
You know, near Gladstone there. So born in 92. You know, not much around there. But, you know, by the time I was 4, we sort of sold the family house and moved onto a yacht, right? So Dad just wanted to sail the world.
The whole family was on a yacht?
Yeah, so me, my older brother, who's 2 years older than me, and, you know, mum, dad. So, yeah, it was about an 11-metre, you know, for people that don't really know feet, but it was, you know, it's a 44-foot sailboat, so not massive, you know.
So Dad's like, I was in the Navy. Let's go and all live on a boat.
Yeah. He'd owned some boats before that, and he's just a super keen sailor, and, you know, just loved the lifestyle. So he's like, you know, no better time than now, get the kids on and start cruising. So
Good on you, man. Well, that's the first.
That's very unique.
Yeah, right. Yeah. When people first hear about it, they're like, that explains a lot. You know, you're a bit weird. Like, yeah, when you're, you know, best friends with a seagull for 6 years, you know, everyone's a bit weird, you know.
Did you see your Wilson out there?
Yeah, 7-year-old with this big beard just going weird out there. But
You probably saw heaps of stuff floating around the ocean in all seriousness, though.
Yeah. It's, you know, it's pretty crazy depending on where you go, but we were in some pretty remote areas and that too, you know, places up in Papua New Guinea where, you know, they hadn't seen white people in 20 years. You know, even like one of the spots there, the elder was the last one to see a boat, and it was when he was a kid, you know. So
Right.
it's pretty crazy. And yeah, like the rubbish floating out there, just islands of this stuff, you know. And just, I mean, you view it all through the lens of a kid though too, you know. So, you know, it was 6 years on the boat, but it was, you know, went through cyclones and, you know, there was times when, you know, we didn't know if the boat is going to sink or not, you know, and it's an interesting lifestyle because there's so much planning involved and, you know, there's so many unknowns. And back then there wasn't that much GPS and all that sort of stuff too. So there was a lot of maps and, you know, worrying about what was happening with the weather and
Old school resection.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty well. You've done amphibs, so you know. Yeah, and it gets pretty wild out there, you know. So.
For sure. Yeah, the littoral environment and the great ocean environment is a very unforgiving one.
Yes. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Was that always on the move, or do you port up somewhere for a certain amount of time, or you always
It kind of depends, you know. I mean, if you didn't like your neighbours, you were up the next day, you know. But you know, there's some spots if we liked the location, we'd bed down for a little bit. You know, we were homeschooled, so I did my first year of school, but then from then on we were just homeschooled, and so it didn't really matter. We didn't have to sort of spend any amount of time anywhere. But you know, yeah, we did. You know, I think we ended up through Indonesia, went to Timor and that too. So, you know, and we actually it was kind of crazy how we ended up in Timor, but because we left TI, the tip of Australia, and it was meant to be about a 10-day journey, and we had enough fuel, enough supplies and that for, you know, about 2 weeks, but we ended up hitting the doldrums, right? So it was just like no wind. And so we had to motor. We ended up running out of fuel, running out of water, food. Shit. You know, Dad run out of beer and cigarettes. So there's a bit of tension. A bit of tension on board, right? And so, you know, it ended up taking about, 3 weeks, almost a month to get to the first island. And we rock up to this island. It wasn't the one we were supposed to get to, but we needed to get water and stuff. And it was just like this random village. Like they had no infrastructure there at all. But what they did have was just mountains and mountains of Fanta, right? Just like, grape Fanta, all these weird flavors of Fanta. And, we're like, where's the water at? And they're like, there's no water, there's Fanta.
It's in the cans.
Yeah. Ingredients, carbonated water.
Exactly, yeah. So all we could do was stock up on Fanta, and then, the next place we hit was Timor. And that would have been...
hell, very fascinating.
Yeah, and that would have been 2000, maybe 2000, early 2001.
Yeah.
And that there. And
well, there was stuff going on in Timor.
Yeah.
It probably fell off the back of the Canimbla.
Yeah.
That's what happened.
Could have been, yeah. Some fishermen probably pulled it up in their
Navy
net.
people out there going, I wonder what about that Fanta. Old mate Taggart was drinking it when he was like 8 years old. That's where it went. Hey, side note, we're speaking to you the day before Cyclone Alfred's supposed to hit here on the Gold Coast. So this might be our last ever podcast. Let's see. I don't know. Hopefully not.
Hopefully not.
Yes. Keep going, mate. I'm loving this. Yeah. What happened? You said a little story happened when you're about 10 years old.
Which
you
one
saw
was
something
that?
on TV.
Yeah, so we were in. We'd gotten up to Singapore at the time. We were docked up in there, and I think it was about 2:00 in the morning or something like that. The parents were all watching something on the news, and they said, get out of bed, have a look at this, and Twin Towers just was going on, and the whole place, the next morning was just going crazy. There were jets flying overhead, and there's so much tension, so much unknown at the time. So it was, they made the decision. It's probably not safe to be traveling with kids on the boat. Let's, sell this thing, pack it in, and within 2 weeks we were back in Australia. So.
Wow! So something happened over in New York when that's it. Your dad's went no more. Not even sailing around the place. Yeah, that's very interesting.
Yeah.
So where when you say you come back to Australia, where was home?
So we ended up. Obviously, we didn't really have a place to go back to, right? So we end up settling down in Atherton Tablelands up near Cairns there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a cool area. Pretty quiet though, pretty small sort of town vibes. Not that much to say about it. First, my second year of school then was year 8, so high school,
What was that like, learning amongst other students, other pupils?
Yeah, bit of a weird kid sort of coming in, bright red hair, freckles, off a boat. You can imagine it was a bit of a transition. So, but, soon worked it out and, got into the groove of it and stuff like that. And, like most military dudes, I didn't love school, I was more wanted to build stuff, I was good with my hands and used to just make stuff. So I was, right into the woodwork side of it. So, coming into year 10, I was wanting to get out and get a trade, So then that happened, started a trade, carpentry, did that for 5 years and then...
So got fully qualified?
Yeah, got qualified. Yeah, did that. I mean... I like the work. It's fun work, but the industry, it's not that great. I mean, you're living on, at the time, like Chico rolls and Red Bulls,
That's for breakfast.
That's breakfast, yeah.
Did you know there's a house being built next to ours right now, and I found a fucking Chico roll wrapper this morning, literally in my front yard. No shit.
Keeping Chico rolls in business.
Yeah.
Mate, Chico roll, they are the business too. My missus never had one before. I'm like, fucking do yourself a favour. She's like, no. He doesn't want to eat bloody chicken lips and assholes inside the Chico roll.
Just missing out.
Hey, so tell us, when did the balloon go up about? When did you have that sort of realisation you were going to come and join the military?
Yeah, I can't remember the exact time. I know it was always in the back of my mind, but I think I wasn't really going anywhere. I sort of started the carpentry business, and I was, sort of lacking a bit of direction, I think, and I always sort of knew I was going to join the military. And one day I was just sort of walking around and just saw DFR there, and I was like, all right, well, I might book an appointment. So
DFR up near in the
Cairns.
Tablelands. Yep,
Yeah,
Cairns,
it was. Yep. Yeah, the nearest one is Cairns. So had a big old Red Bull and went in and did the aptitude test, and they're like, you've actually scored really well, so you can pretty much apply for any job you want, sort of thing. And I knew I just wanted to go infantry. I wanted to go SF at the time, and the guy's like, look, there's this thing called DRS you can go for, and I was like,
DRS meaning?
So direct recruitment scheme, so SF DRS, yeah. And I didn't know much about it at the time, but I was like, no, this could be pretty cool, So, did a bit of research on it, and
so what year we're talking about now, just so I can allow our listeners there to just situate, going, what was I doing at that stage?
Yeah, 2013 this would have been.
Yep.
Yeah, and it was a pretty quick process, really. Through the interviews and stuff like that. There was a bit of stuff because I didn't, I think I failed like English at school and that, so they didn't want to let me in because of that, and end up writing this letter, and it kind of went backwards and forwards a little bit, but sort of got through that, and then they're like, look, you're 100% good to go. Come in for the interview, and got the call, and they're like, yeah, you're in. So
it's funny, I exited the military in 2013. You'd been out already by then? Well, when did you get out?
17 I got out.
Right.
Yep.
Geez, I'm good with my dates today, aren't I? It's truth.
Well, you got the gist of it, right? I was in.
Yes. What were you still doing in 2013?
13, that would have been when I just posted out of SOA and up to the fiery school in Emily.
Right.
Yeah,
Got it.
First year up there. So out of the Special Operations Command back into not just the Army, but into the RAF life.
Oh.
A couple of steps
Sideways.
different direction.
We'll call it that way.
get a few more 5-star hotels.
Yeah.
Nice.
So SFDRS, and then what was the first feeling like when they're like, yep, you're in, here's your entrance date, off to Kapuka, away you go?
Pretty surreal, I think you don't know, you can't, I mean, having a dad who's a veteran, you sort of know the drill a little bit, but it's kind of surreal, you, even when you get off the bus at Kapuka and that, it's like, all right, we're on now, here we go. But I played the grey man pretty much through Kapuka, nothing much to sort of, see or do there. But I think it was about week 10 by the time some of the, the corporals were like, who's this dude, And I was
He hasn't been in trouble
Is he a retread? I was like, no, I've been here since day dot. I think it was actually the drill that caught me out because I got, 2 left feet. So they, put me in the middle rank. But
what did you like most about Kapuka?
I like the structure of it, to be honest. I think having that goal too, was good. I liked shooting, but I was actually terrible at it. So I was like, almost failed LF6. So yeah, it was, but it gave me something to practice and get good at, which I enjoy doing. Right. So, but yeah, not too much to say really on Kapuka. I mean, and then straight on to Singo. Yeah.
Yeah, good. Singo would have been a nice little step up for you, going, all right, I'm out of that bloody fully structured red tab, blue tab, yellow tab thing at Kapuka. Now let's, get right into some proper soldiering.
Yeah, 100%.
Were the instructors really good at SOI?
Yeah, they were. I mean, they had a lot of experience, right? There's, because all the dudes were getting back from Afghan and stuff like that, done multiple tours and stuff. So, they were really good. I struggled hard with the pack marching side of it, because I think when I joined, I was probably 65 kilos, just
bringing wet,
built like a brown snake, and
also living on a boat, not used to walking very far.
Mate, that's it. Yeah, blame it on the boat, and so like the mind was willing, but the flesh was weak, right? So I struggled hard on that, and that kind of affected the rest of it, through there, and I end up breaking my foot on a pack march, like week 11. So I got like so close to the end, broke my foot, and ended up in like the rehab platoon there. Mm-hmm. So I thought, dreams are kind of crushed at this stage. Going to the DRS, and I'm in there. They had a mad push at the time for recruiting through there. So there was about 120 broken people, at Singo, this rehab platoon.
That ain't no platoon.
Yeah, that's a company, company size, yeah. So, and you're in there with like the worst of, people that just didn't even want to be there. They didn't want to go back into session or anything like that. So I was feeling pretty down with myself, and came back from holiday, but with a bit of a different attitude and just sort of thought, like still want to do well, still want to, get through this, and ended up, foot was healing well, so started pack marching and training hard for it, and got the green tick, and just so happened that the next DRS platoon was coming in, right? So, hit up my TL who liked me because he knew I was still keen for it and that, and he'd done a selection and that as well. So, he knew what it was about. So he ended up getting me onto the next DRS platoon going through, which was really good because I started week 1, day 1 again, but it is what it is, and sort of went through. No dramas, really.
You would have been a weapon at the end of it, though, to do all that again. Immersion, repetition.
100%.
You're not doing things for the first time.
Yeah, well,
because as you know, when you go down to SOCOM, then that's immersion and repetition is everything. Muscle memory is the whole world. Keep doing it again. Keep doing it again. Keep doing it again.
You're only as good as your training. Yeah, and I noticed that with shooting, right? So I ended up getting the best shoot of the platoon or whatever it was at the time, right? So it was good to see the progression of being so terrible at shooting to actually sort of getting real good at a skill, and I kind of really enjoyed it.
Good on you. Yeah, your confidence would have gone through the roof.
100%. Yeah.
What happened after Singo?
So after Singo, Holsworthy, so started AITs, which is advanced infantry training, pretty much just prepping anyone who's not infantry or gone through the infantry scheme to get ready for selection. So, you got RAFIs in there, you got Navy blokes.
So even though you just come from 2 rounds of Singo, they were sort of just, did you do the AIT together, or what were you guys doing in that period?
Yeah, we did it. I think pretty much every DRS has to do it, you know. So it's a good though because you're training twice a day fitness wise, and you just really you're surrounded by dudes who are actually in the unit too. They're the instructors, so you're getting a good first hand sort of glimpse into the unit and stuff like that, which is good.
Yeah, for sure. What did you think when you sort of saw the facilities down there?
It's awesome, It's because you see all the training facilities and that, and you're hearing all the stories, and you're just like getting G'd up to go in there, and I mean, your focus is purely on selection, though. I think, anyone who sort of jumps the gun ends up,
gets a little bit ahead
of themselves, so it's good to remain focused on selection, getting through that first step, and then obviously, Rio's a long road in itself, so yeah.
Have you got any worries from the actual selection, like experiencing the real food and sleep deprivation activity for the first time? A little bit of loneliness when you're doing your nav stuff. Anything sort of spring to mind there?
Yeah, I mean, I think the course instructor just said to us before we went in, he's like, just monkey fist selection, right? He's like, don't overthink it, just monkey fist it. So I went into selection being like, don't overthink it, don't self-select, because you're the worst enemy. You're your own worst enemy out there, especially when you're alone, So my thoughts were just get through it, and if I get through selection, it's more of a mental game for Rio and things like that. So, the sleep debt was hard. I think that sort of affects everyone, but I love a good snooze, so that was, yeah. But once you got through that, you get through each different sort of section, and you build a bit more confidence. You're getting a little bit closer to that end goal, and yeah, and it's also sort of good sometimes, like nav, you're left alone, which is like you're kind of out there, and you see some funny stuff though. But yeah,
see some funny stuff because of the sleep deprivation.
But yeah, people doing some weird things, and but it's like anyone who's sort of done selection understands, like it's designed to sort of bring you right down, and it's good to see that side of yourself as well, because nothing else is really going to sort of bring you to that point. But
did you have a couple of people ring the bell per se and say, no, I'm out of here?
Yeah, and people that you don't expect too, like you get these dudes who are in there 6'5", just built like brick shit houses, and
irrelevant.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. They're some of the first to sort of ring the bell, and it was interesting sort of seeing that side of it, and just going through like your perspective before and the nerves, and then once you're actually in the thick of it and doing it, and where you actually didn't think you'd excel and things like that. So yeah,
can you remember how many started, how many finished?
It was a pretty big selection. I think we were around 130 or something like that. I think from memory, I could be off with those numbers, but and I think it was around in the high 30s that made it. I
Okay,
think.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. About the right ratio.
Yeah.
25% pass mark, give or take.
Yeah, I think so. That was about
25
what
to
it
30.
was. Yeah.
Yeah. So you got through, and they're like, "All right, cool. You've now been." Do they do the beret parade at the end of selection or the end of Rio?
End of Rio.
End of Rio. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
good. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a little bit different back in the day. Helmets on, ladies and gents. I said to Taggart before, I'm like, "Oh, this is when I did my selection back in 2004." He's looking at me like going, "I was a fucking teenager then," or something like that. Anyway, but yeah, they did the presentation of the beret after selection, and then you're able to wear your beret, whilst you're doing your amphib course and stuff like that. So,
Yeah.
I do understand it's a little bit.
It's a bit like
now.
what West does, I think, isn't it? I think they might still do that.
Don't know when you're at
it's
it.
a rumour. Yeah.
I've been at unclassed world for a long, long time.
Yeah.
yeah. So, but the thing I loved about Rio is that you're starting to do all the cool stuff. You're doing the amphib, you're doing the airborne roping, you're doing some of the room clearance drills. Like you're actually getting your hands right into on the tools and like doing all the cool stuff. What did you think about that?
Yeah, 100%.
Whilst it's very demanding and it's very relentless and you're onto it all the time for like a very long period, but you're still doing cool shit pretty much every day.
Yeah, and obviously I loved amphib, which no one else did.
As much as you.
Yeah. I was a bit of the morale there, seeing everyone suffering.
What
just
about
getting
parachuting?
wet. Yeah, I mean, I sort of had a bit of a fear of heights, sort of going into it. And, actually roping, because we had roping one of our first courses, and,
Roping's higher than parachuting.
it feels
From
like
a-
it.
From a height perspective.
Yeah, because you can still see the expressions on people's faces, and so you're spending the whole day just kind of, just adrenaline, just dumping and, exhausting yourself. But by like week 2 or something, I was actually starting to enjoy it. I was like, this is actually good fun, and that was a good part of it. And then you came parachuting; it's pretty much just throw yourself out of a plane and hope for the best, right? Yeah. But I really
enjoyed the
it.
water jumps.
Yeah. Well, I mean, even in Sharky, Jarvis Bay there, I'm not a big fan of sharks.
No, no one is.
No.
I've seen quite a few of them, I imagine, on the boat.
Yeah.
That's true.
So you know what's in there. Waiting
Yeah, I think when you're young, though, you just don't really care as much,
for you. Cool, it's a shark.
Yeah, the older you get, the more you value your life, I suppose. But no, it was good. I mean, Rio's a good time. It's intense. A lot of dudes obviously they get their cup filled and they sort of can't take on any more information. You just got to kind of data dump each course as you're going through and just retain as much as you can, but without sort of overloading yourself and. Yeah,
You do have a lot of new information thrown at you literally every day.
Yeah.
And it's cumulative in nature. All right, now you've learned this, now we're going to do this. And then it just keeps on going and going and going. So
yeah, it doesn't stop. Yeah.
What was the feeling like when you finally got through Rio and they're like, right, come and do your final border studies? And they're like, right, you're in.
Yeah,
Tell me about that feeling.
It's surreal, right? Like especially like the beret parade, you got your family that come in there and they really haven't seen you or what you've done for the last 14 months, and that they just know you're going for this thing they don't know much about, and it just sort of it all culminates at that point, and you sort of realize you've done it, and you get the beret, and it's a pretty special time. Like I remember like visualizing having the beret. It was like one of the things I'd do to kind of get me through any sort of difficult times or whatever, is to kind of keep that vision of where I'm going, and just sort of have it in your hand and be like, all right, like I've owned this. I'm in now. It's like, it's like the culmination of the hard work done. So, yeah.
Knowing full well that so many people try and only a few get through.
Yeah.
It's cool, man.
And not letting it get to your head. Yeah.
Oh, look, humility is one of the principles of SOCOM. It's supposed to be.
Yeah.
It's,
So
depending on how many beers you've had.
What's the time frame from getting on the bus going to Kapuka to finishing
Yeah,
Rio,
good one.
getting your beret?
I think, what Rio's 14 months, AIT is about 2, Singo's about
Singo's
3. And I
Times
think,
2.
Yeah, there you go.
Throw in your injury recovery time as well.
And then Kapuka's
It's
3
2 years
so,
then.
Yeah.
Probably, yeah.
So I was buried end of 16. So yeah. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Do you feel like you matured a fair bit in that 2 year period?
Yeah, for sure. I think everyone does. You sort of, you pick up on the culture too, because obviously, DRS, you lack a lot of the experience that those dudes coming in from battalion have, and
Of the wider army.
yeah. And you've got to keep your eyes open and your ears open and just kind of like figure out what's going on and not stick your head out too high and you know, yeah, like the culture's good, as you know, in the unit too, even for new dudes coming in. Yeah.
Well, everyone was there one day.
Yeah, that's
everyone
right.
was the FNG. It's like an Axon. Everyone's the FNG.
Yep.
Justin, who's recently started with us, he's got out as an infantry warrant officer. Now he's like fucking week 5. I probably got that wrong as well. It's about that.
Close
but yeah,
enough.
everyone becomes
We'll
an
give it
FNG one day.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
When did you really feel like you'd hit your straps and sort of, you know, you're in your platoon and you got your team staff, your section staff, you know, the rest of the people that are really looking after you there, and you're like, right, I'm one of the team now. Probably another 6 months or so.
Yeah, I think so. You know, you start getting into the groove. You start, you know, when you start training with your team more, you know, as you know, you sort of pick up on, you know, how you guys move and things like that, and it starts to just gel a lot more. So yeah, I think 6 months, you know.
And you got the very different roles as well, haven't you?
Yeah.
Green, black, and otherwise.
Yeah, so we started on green roll there, which was good because, you know, you sort of go over your skills that you've learned on Rio and that sort of thing, and sort of culminated at the end of the year with we did an IE to the Philippines and things like that, which was good. Went over there and trained some of those boys, and then ended up putting my hand up for the climbing course. So then, you know, because I really enjoyed that roping side of it, so I went into that and, you know, really enjoyed that, and that sort of clicked.
Do you feel like you've conquered your fear of heights now?
Yeah, it's
like
exposure
you have to.
therapy,
You put
you
your
know.
hand up for another course.
Yeah, it's
I
exposure
want to
therapy.
hang myself off the side of a mountain even more.
I want to go up as well as down.
Yeah, it's
and
quite
teach other
relaxing,
people
yeah.
to do it. It's good, mate. When what's the highlight of your SOCOM career?
Probably, you know, tag, I'd say. Yeah, I really enjoyed that year. It's such an intense year, you know, but you know, your skills are just so well developed. You know, there's so much training that's going on, and you know, we did Op Atlas, which was pretty much the QRF for the Com Games that were going on in 2018. So that was good. You know, we were sort of, you know, putting it all together and on such a large scale too. You know, so that was really cool part of it. Yeah,
A global event like that as well.
Yeah,
you
for
would
sure.
have had the scale and the level of importance of if something goes down here, you are the first and last resort.
Yeah, we're good, ready to go. You know, and we got the assets for it all ready to go. So you know, it's like Did
you enjoy working with the police when you were in that black role?
Yeah, and it's good seeing that side of it too. You know, because as a civvy, you really you don't even know about these units and stuff like that and their capability, and it's cool.
Yeah.
It's a very cool side of it.
What was the most challenging bit about being SOCOM?
I mean, it's constant, you know, performance pressure too. You know, which is it's good. You know, it needs it, but also it doesn't give you sort of time to do anything else as well. You know, and that sort of, especially on like, you know, the black roll and things like that, as you know, it's just so.
It's
intense.
a very selfish role, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's a very selfish job.
For sure.
Yeah.
You know.
Did you have a partner at all? Like, tell us a bit more about what was going on in your personal life at the time.
No, I mean, I had one when I first joined up, but then sort of going into selection, it just became too much of a distraction. So I was just kind of like, you know, I knew I needed to focus, and I cut the relationship and just
Very common
went
theme,
for it.
hey?
Yeah. I feel like there's a sacrifice there, and I think, you know, some people you see it shows just because the demands of family, you know.
Did you see that as well, Damo? Because as a backstory, Damo and I met over in Kandahar, 2009. Strapping young engineer corporal back in the day.
Yeah, it feels like a lifetime ago, but I suppose it's only 15 years ago.
Yeah.
Only 15.
But you would have seen a bunch of people suffer in their personal life based on the demands that SOCOM provide you and that real constant operational routine.
Yeah, absolutely. It takes a big toll on the family that's left behind, whether you're still within Australia and you're out somewhere else.
Yeah.
Or if you're deployed like we were.
Yeah.
You know, my son was born when I was overseas. So I come home to a 3-year-old. Sorry, 3-month-old.
Yeah, I remember that.
Come home to a 3-year-old, there'd be some questions.
Here you go.
No,
Your
but
turn. You
3
should have
months.
told me back in the day.
Yeah. No, but it does. It places a huge pressure on your life outside of work. And, you know, not everyone gets through it.
Yeah.
So it's understandable.
Yeah. So you did what? How many years in the unit then?
So 3 years in the unit, yeah. So got out beginning of 2020. So just shy of 6 years all up.
Okay, yeah. So what are we now? 2025. So you've done a fair bit of time outside as well now. Then.
Yeah, for sure. Doesn't feel like it.
Start of
Yeah.
2020,
Yeah, I was going to say. So in
COVID.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Oh, that's the whole. Do you reckon? Because because I've got a bunch of mates and or clients and just sort of, linkages back into the unit. I know that COVID really bit hard, like from a shift and focus perspective, literally fucking manning checkpoints and manning phones and doing nothing compared to all the huge amount of training that we went through to get this was being applied, and that was the number one thing in your life. How did you cope with that?
Well, yeah. So I originally, when I sort of got out, I had this big plan to go traveling for 12 months and that. So I got 2 months into this. Yeah, right. Got 2 months into this travel plan, and COVID hit, and I was in Turkey at the time, and they're like, best to get back to Australia, So ended up back in Australia, and I was like, well, that plan got kind of done. So
you got out just before COVID?
I got out, yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Roger that.
So I was out.
Yes.
Yeah, and
that's probably a blessing in disguise, because those things I described to you then, I'm telling you, heaps and heaps of every single person I spoke to that had any linkage with that unit fucking hated their life.
Yeah.
Because they were doing the opposite to what they were there to do, and that was just the main focus of the world was protect the borders, keep everyone safe, fucking,
door
go
knocking,
through a checklist, do that crap.
Yeah, so, talking to some of the boys, because I was thinking about, just getting back in at the time, because obviously, everything else was shut down. But from hearing the stories of what they're doing, I was like, yeah, I think I made the right decision there, Yeah.
Well, that's good. You got back to Australia then before the borders closed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The price.
So did you just get out and go travelling? You're like, all right, I'm finished my military career now. I'm just going to go travelling.
Yeah, pretty much. Well, I was, everyone's kind of waiting on deployments. It's the carrot, right? And after sort of 6 years of training and everything was winding down, I was like, well, I was kind of getting the itchy foot to go build something again, and I was like, look, if something cracks off, I can always get back in. So I'll just jump out. And
isn't it funny how timing is everything when it comes to that? It's if that stuff is not going on at the right time for you, you'll be then pushing through your career, and it'll just pass you by.
100%.
It'll just, I saw some really, really awesome artillery captains that could have gone down and, provided an amazing joint fires capability to SOCOM, but it didn't exist then. So by the time I went down there, they were all like, half colonels and stuff. And I'm like, fuck, you are an absolute awesome young captain who would have really thrived in this environment. And whilst none of them have admitted, of course, I'm sure they're kicking themselves going, I missed that by 4 or 5, 6 years. And I get a sense you're exactly the same.
Yeah.
If rewind 4 or 5, 6 years, you would have done 2 or 3 trips to over Afghan like we did.
Yeah. And you're around all the dudes who are over there, Yeah.
And that would have been tough for you.
I mean, look, they've all got these cool worries and stories and that, and it's it is that sort of carrot at the end of the day. Like everyone's sort of hoping for it, and especially being in such a unit like 2 Commander where such heavy involvement in those deployments and that. It would have been great to go over, but it just didn't happen. So but I mean, I loved my career anyway, and I wouldn't change it. So got snipers at the end of it, and got to jump at a free fall and things like that. So
so
just
some really cool stuff still.
Yeah, it's just some experiences that you couldn't, you can't get anywhere else as well.
Correct.
So yeah.
When did the balloon go up then in your head and your heart and go, all right, it's just my time in the military has now come to an end?
Yeah, I mean, it starts, right? It's like starts as a niggle, and it kind of, by the end of it, you just want to sort of try something different too, I think, a bit of a change. I think 6 years in sort of anything, you might get the itchy foot to sort of try something different. And I knew, even when I was starting to do, finance and research about businesses and learn, about that sort of stuff. So I was already sort of gearing towards that, finding that as a new interest as well. So, but yeah, so, by the time, it rolled around, I was like, 100%, like I'm ready to go. Yeah.
Yeah. And what was it like when you had to pass the news on to your chain of command and your peers around you and go, hey, team, I'm out of here soon?
Yeah, it was actually really tough, super tough. Because especially my TL at the time, he sort of pushed me into doing snipers and stuff like that, and it was like a real good mentor, and I sort of did sniper course and then almost, sort of bailed shortly after that. But, so it's kind of like you feel like you're letting the team down, and the blokes around you and stuff. But, it's life,
It's your life.
It's life, man.
YOLO.
Yeah, 100%, yeah.
What about you, Damo? I can't remember. When did your balloon go up? 2017, not 13.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
For me, it was all based around postings. So I was out at Amberley at the school. They wanted to send me to Darwin. The sergeant was up there, didn't want to come down to the school. So what do? Post us, me to Darwin, him down to the school.
Happened anyway.
And I'm like, no, that's
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
So I'd already, same thing, like once that fire starts burning a little bit, like, oh, I'm thinking about getting out, then all it takes is something else, and then it turns into a big snowball.
Yeah, it plants a seed.
Especially if those postings that you don't want to go to are having adverse effects on your family.
Yeah. So I had like 3 kids at the time. They're like, we don't want to go that, or especially my wife,
Yeah.
don't want to go to Darwin.
Yeah.
So that makes the decision easy.
Too fucking bad. You're going to Darwin anyway.
Nope.
Yeah. And how good is it, lads, when you can get out and then eventually find your feet, have a soft landing, you take back control.
That's right.
The reason why I called the podcast Axons Unleashed, because you just unleash yourself from service before self and, service need as opposed to personal need. So, yeah. What were your first few weeks, months and stuff like when you first got out then? And you're just like, and you had the realisation, I'm not putting on a uniform today. I don't have to shave. I can fucking do whatever I want.
I can go to Turkey.
Yeah. It's it's almost like you realize you're an adult again, right? And you can kind of do anything, which can also be pretty daunting, right? Like you don't have that safety net of just being spoon fed like you are in the defence. You always got the paycheck, always got the mates around you. You've got to rock up to work. It's you're a bit of a free for all. And I knew I wanted to get into business, so I had that goal. But I also knew I wanted to do a bit of travel and things like that, and I ended up buying a boat and sailing around the east coast of Australia for a bit as well. So got that out of
course you did.
Yeah.
I was waiting for you to say that.
I feel like I've done this before.
Yeah. Got it out of my system again, and
So was that travelling by yourself?
I was just about to ask, yeah.
Yeah, I had a partner on the boat at the time and that, yeah. But yeah, it was good because it went back to all the same spots that we hit as a kid, So I was like just sort of reliving it through an adult point of view.
Did you have enough food? Did you have enough ciggies? Did you have enough beer?
Not always, but
Did you find any more Fanta? Probably not.
Nah. It's changed a lot,
Yeah, I bet.
A lot more people are into boating these days too, which is interesting. But yeah.
Good on you, man. That would have been a real thrill for you to go back and relive some of those childhood memories.
Yeah, it was.
You're the captain. You're at the helm of your own boat. You make some decisions. GPS was now in play. You didn't have to fucking worry about motoring too far off course.
Still ran aground a few times, but
that's all part of it.
It happens. Yeah,
that is all part of it. And then tell us about ultimately what are you doing now, and how did that start?
Yeah, so essentially I had this other business that I'd started probably around 2001. It was a display essentially that used electromagnets and all this sort of stuff. And, I put about 16 months worth of work into this thing and probably about $100,000, with all the prototypes.
Was it 2001 or 2021?
2021, sorry.
Sorry, I was just all right, was this like a latent? So I just had to clarify for myself then. So it's 2021.
2021, yeah.
Roger that. So $100,000 you've dumped into this new venture.
Yeah,
great.
Yeah, and I had patents for it and all this sort of stuff, and I was very OPSEC with it. I wasn't sharing it. And ended up doing a product launch and that for it, and I had this skull beret that I had on there. It's just a bit of a prop, but I had my beret on at the time and did this product launch. And one of the boys, from my old unit came and was like, "Hey, that's pretty cool. Like, do you sell that?" And I was like, "No, I sell this thing, mate. Like, that's not for sale."
What's the electromagnet side of it?
Yeah, so that's that actually didn't end up working out. It was a bit of a flop and more so a big lesson, as we all as these failures are. But I didn't understand, the audience. So, I was going after people with either high-end jewelry to display high-end jewelry or people with displaying collectibles and things like that, right? But I didn't understand, either of those things. I wasn't part of that, that community sort of thing. So it sort of failed and I was kind of like left, well, what have I done wrong here? But then, after that bloke said, look, if you sell these, you might have something here. And I put it out to a Facebook group with dudes from my old unit and that, and just said, hey, look, anyone be interested in buying one of these? And within 2 hours, I had like 50 orders, right? And I was like, I've done more business in 2 hours than I have in 16 months and not had to spend a dime, right?
Do you know what that is? the vibe and the personality of a brand needs to be able to relate to your customer.
100%.
And as you just said,
Yeah.
the vibe and the personality of your other brand, you just did not relate to fucking high-end people that want to wear high-end jewellery.
Just didn't understand the audience.
101 business team, if you ever want to start your own business, the vibe and personality of whatever your service is must relate to your customer. End of story.
Yeah, and
Find a way.
That's it, right? It's understanding your customer, and there's if you are the customer, and I think I never set out to start a veteran business, or sell to veterans, but it just came so naturally, and it just became this self-licking ice cream of just dudes standing in their stories about getting their beret out on display, and or maybe they had their granddad's stuff that was sitting in a cupboard, and they were getting that out. So, it became a real rewarding business at the same time too. So then I was like, we're onto something here, and yeah.
Tell us about the composition of these. How are they made? Just like that bloody flash printing stuff that happens?
Yeah, so they're 3D
printing?
printed. Yeah.
That's what I meant.
Yeah.
See, I don't relate to the 3D printing world,
Mate, neither
but
did
I love the product. I reckon it's fucking cool. Graveyard designs.
Well, I only got into it because I prototyping was so expensive, so I was like, well, I'll just teach myself how to do this and go from there. And
what colours it comes in black as well? Hey,
yeah, black's definitely the most popular. But we're launching a new OD green one at the moment. I thought I'd bring it down and show it off, and yeah,
the old olive drab.
The olive drab,
commonly known as. So, how long does it take to make? Where are they made? Did you literally come up with this yourself? Like, just really give us a real insight into the fabric of how it all started. I'm interested because I think they are absolute mint.
Yeah, I mean, I came up with the design and that all myself, and I started making them myself. Out of my second bathroom. I had all the printers in there and just going for gold. But now, obviously, we've expanded and we sell in Europe and America and that, and
Excellent.
yeah, they're manufactured now in the US and in London. And in Sydney.
You also
as well.
sell to Rabina.
Yeah.
Daniel.
So yeah, now I mean,
how big's the team? Where's the team located? Like, just give us tell me.
All my stuff now. I mean, it's my business is e-commerce, right? So I just sort of hire out people, and I don't have a direct team, which is good. I think e-commerce is a bit of a different game from what you guys sort of do. So
yeah.
It's good though. I mean, I can move around with it if I need to, and things like that. And having satellite manufacturing is, it's good, because it allows you to just create new products really quickly.
Is it manufactured here in Australia or in Asia somewhere?
No. So manufactured in Sydney,
Yeah.
and we've got another manufacturer in UK and another one in US. So it speeds
Wow.
up shipping and things like that for us too. Obviously making it over there and then shipping it over there as well, because we've got a large US audience now.
Of
as
course.
well. Yeah, they love
Fuck,
it.
mate, if little old me thought that was really cool to put my little old beret on it, I'm sure as shit there's some fucking way bigger and meaner heavy hitters in both the US and the UK that'd love that. How
Yeah.
many units you reckon you've sold so far?
I think we're up to about 3,000.
Is that all?
Yeah. Well,
If you had said 30,000, I'm like, oh, that's pretty cool.
the thing that's capped us has been the manufacturing side of it, right?
Right.
So now, I mean, the 3D technology, it's getting a lot better, but we need to move into injection molding with it, sort of thing, and that's been one of the bottlenecks of the business,
Yeah.
and solving that problem, and that's what business is about, right? It's just putting out fires and solving problems. So,
Yeah. Don't I know it?
yeah.
What are you looking at me for?
No. No. You're one of my bloody. You help me put out fires, but
right.
yes, it does take up some of your time.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we've had no dramas making sales. We've always got to stop ads and stuff like that to keep up with.
How long
demand.
does one take to make?
So they originally, when I first started, they were taking about 24 hours to make one. Yeah.
Consistently, flash, 3D
Flash
printing.
printing.
Yeah. Yeah. And it was super inconsistent too, because, to get the right quality and that, you'd make 10 and only like 4 would pass the grade.
Oh,
so,
no.
yeah.
Right. There's a bit of wastage.
Yeah, 100%. So now the technology is getting much better, much more professional and stuff like that. And
So what are we talking? How many hours now
about
to get one?
4 to 5 hours now you can get one out.
Okay.
Yeah.
More consistent.
Much more consistent. Yeah. you know, and because it's kind of an emerging technology, you know, people thought it was only used for prototyping and stuff like that now, and now this sort of small batch manufacturing, it's, you know, it's in everything. It's in medical devices, it's in aviation, it's, you know, it's pretty interesting, pretty cool stuff. Yeah,
I saw them build a fucking house on the block a couple of years ago, made out of 3D printing. All the foundations and the walls of it all. Anyway, yeah, that was really flash.
There you go.
That was
That'll take a
flash.
while.
That took more than 4 hours. What's the vision for the business, mate? Where do you want to take it over the next few years?
Yeah, I just want to probably, you know, cement it, you know, as a good brand that as a brand that's quality, that's, you know, world recognized in the next 10 years, I'd say. So that's the vision. So just kind of dialing it back from there and seeing, you know, how we're going to go about that. And it's in the manufacturing to start, so we can, you know, open up and sell more, and then you know, get it so we can distribute more to the EU and things like that. Yeah.
Tell me about the logo and the name and everything, because I've got a special story behind mine. I'd love to know what yours is.
Man, to be honest, I can't remember how it came about. I think I probably had about 20 different names I had sort of selected, and I ended up just throwing it out. I was in a real phase of just throwing it out to mates and that, you know, at the time, being like, what do you reckon? And I think it
Unsolicited
came back.
advice.
Yeah.
Probably coming back with
no
something
more
on the piss
OPSEC with
going,
this.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's good.
But it gives you the feedback, you know, doesn't
Oh,
it?
mate, 100%, you know.
Like people that aren't afraid to go, that's a shit idea.
Yeah, that's right. And I've had plenty of them. So, you know, it helps you get feedback from people, you know, and especially customers and stuff like that. So, and that just came back as the winner, you know. And yeah, just from there.
Bloody awesome. What about what's going on in your personal life now then? Have you... How's things going there? This is not a therapy session, by the way.
No.
You've
There's
been...
no couch in here.
Because from what I've got out of this awesome podcast, and thanks so much, Taggart, for sharing all your details there, like you've been very committed to your career and whatever your 5, 10, 15 and 100 metre target is staring you in the face. Very focused individual, Damo. Would you agree?
Absolutely.
But what else fulfills the rest of your world though?
To be honest, yeah, I mean, I've always been like a bit of a vagabond, you know, moving around a lot and stuff like that. So, you know, I've got a family now, so young, you know, 2-year-old daughter, born on Anzac Day, you know.
Oh, good.
That's nice.
Yeah, so
Fantastic.
and that's good, you know, and sort of settling into that, and you know, creating the sort of family environment and community where I live and that now. It's yeah, you know, it's good. It's good to go, yeah.
Living in Sydney, mate, there's never a dull moment.
Mate, yeah. I'm a Queenslander at heart, so yeah. But, you know, Sydney, it's all right. It's all right. But, yeah, I'd prefer to be back up here for sure, yeah.
And you reckon you're going to do this, for the next 10 years or so?
No, I think so. I think, you know, I've tried to kill it a few times and it just doesn't want to. So, you know, there's something there and people seem to love it. And I love getting the good feedback and the iterations, you know, and seeing the business evolve, you know.
Where's the best place for someone? I know for a fact there's going to be many people that are listening to this right now and go like, I've got a fucking beret. Oh, doesn't need to be a SOCOMD beret. Fits all sorts of berets, including pinhead berets.
100%.
I'm speaking out.
Stick a slouch hat on there too.
Yeah, you probably could, hey?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah,
amazing.
Peak caps, helmets, you know, yeah.
Right. Where can people find you, man? How can they make sure that they can have a white one or an olive drab one, commonly known as green, or a black one sitting there?
I mean, you can pretty much just Google beret displays now, but
right, and you come up straight away.
Yeah,
we've got any other major competitors?
No.
Do I need to go and knock on someone's door?
I was surprised. You know, I mean, you know, there's one bloke in the US, but he's not even doing it anymore, and very very small sort of footprint, and yeah, so really just sort of entered a market at a good time, and it's something that people hadn't really seen before. You know, there's a bunch of shadow boxes and that around, and that people know about, but nothing specifically for berets. So
just go to Graveyard Designs or just look up beret.
Yeah, you can go
head holder.
Yeah, skull beret display,
display.
or beret display, military beret display. You know, something there. It'll crop up with an image of one of the skulls and the berets.
Yeah,
and that.
And then just go to your website, boom, 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 choose whatever they want.
Yeah,
different
Graveyard
sizes for
Designs.
different heads. Did I hear you say before?
No, it's mostly like they fit pretty much 90% of. Just the way it's designed, you know, it actually lends itself really well to fit most. Every now and again, we'll have someone with a tiny pinhead, and
as we spoke about before.
And we'll do a workaround specifically for them. But no, I mean, most people, you know, it fits anything that'll go on your dome, it'll pretty much go on there. So yeah.
Yeah, love it. Taggart from Yard Designs, thanks so much for joining us on Axons Unleashed, mate. I loved your story. I hope everyone got a lot out of that as well. See you again soon. Thank you.
See ya.
Thanks, mate.
Thanks, mate.
Cheers, eh?